we've talked a lot today about the dangers that cryptocurrencies pose to our economy. We've talked about the ripoffs, the instability, the extent to which they're used to help criminals with cyber attacks, like the attack on Colonial Pipeline and JBS. But there's another piece too, the adverse environmental impacts of the computing activity used to mint many of these digital currencies in the first place. Bitcoin consumes more energy than entire countries, and it is projected to consume as much energy as all the data centers in the whole world this year. One Bitcoin transaction, a single purchase, sale, or transfer, uses the same amount of electricity as the typical US household uses in more than a month. So, yeah. So, Dr.
Can you say that again?
Yep. A single Bitcoin transaction, that's one purchase or one sale or one transfer, uses the same amount of electricity as the typical US household uses in more than a month. I think the estimate is 53 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So, Dr. Narula, could you explain why cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin eat up so much energy?
Certainly, Senator Warren. What I think it's important to note here is that, at least from a computer science perspective, Bitcoin was doing something that we had never done before, which was building a system that was secure enough to support a massive currency and at the same time allow anyone to participate. The technique that the creator of Bitcoin used in order to do that, Satoshi Nakamoto, was what we refer to as mining or proof of work. And the idea is that the participants in the Bitcoin network protocol, because we don't necessarily know who they are and we want to make the protocol open for anyone to join, without being able to flood the system with copies of a person, for example, is that they prove who they are by contributing compute power. So the way that Bitcoin works is that in order to build the next block on the blockchain, the participants in the network compete to solve a puzzle. It's a very, very difficult puzzle to solve at the moment. And in fact, the puzzle difficulty changes depending upon how many participants there are in the network. What that has led to, as the price of Bitcoin has gone up, is more and more resources being brought to bear, more and more compute resources being brought to bear to solve this puzzle. And as a result, that has used quite a bit more energy. That is also how the blockchain is secured. The idea is that once these participants have expended this energy and expended this compute power, in order to rewrite the blockchain, in order to change history, one would have to expend an equivalent amount of power and energy. So it's a pretty fundamental part of the underlying security of Bitcoin.
So it's built right into it that there are computers all over the world right now spitting out random numbers around the clock in a competition to try to solve a useless puzzle and win the Bitcoin reward. And the amount of computational power and energy for this is a disaster for our planet. Now, some crypto advocates claim that these environmental costs are worth it because of the security the proof of work validation process provides for the system. And you were talking about this is the security that's built in. But let me ask you, Professor Menand, do you think the environmental costs inflicted by cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are worth whatever potential benefits they provide?
No, absolutely not, especially for countries like the United States, where the benefits of crypto are largely illusory. They're not a better means of payment. They undermine the government's ability to maintain robust economic growth over time. They circumvent important safeguards that we've been talking about that prevent extortion. And the environmental costs are very, very large. And so I think the cost-benefit analysis on Bitcoin is clear.
All right. So let me ask you then, Professor Menand, what's the end game for Bitcoin? Will More and more miners keep doing more and more useless, complicated math problems that consume a larger and larger share of the world's energy for the next 100 years until the last coin is mined. What is the future of Bitcoin and the future of our planet?
I think a lot depends on how the people in this Zoom react. If governments like ours continue to sit on the sidelines while alternative currency systems develop, or even if they give succor to that development, we're going to see Bitcoin use continue to expand, because there's a growing group of people who would like to move sort of the whole financial system to decentralized ledgers. And that's going to mean more and more environmental damage. So Congress, I think, really needs to act here.
Yeah. So as we think about how to build a better banking system, we need to rethink the use of environmentally wasteful cryptocurrencies. If I can, let me just get through these quickly. Dr. Narula, let me ask you, from the research you and your colleagues at MIT have done, is it possible to design a central bank digital currency that does not require miners to perform random number generation puzzles?
Yes, it is.
And could you design it so it wouldn't consume more energy than a middle-sized country?
Yes, you can.
And could we have a central bank digital currency that doesn't exacerbate the climate crisis and undermine environmental justice?
I think you could build a central bank digital currency which does not consume vast amounts of energy, yes.
Good. I'm glad to hear this. Look, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are terrible for the environment. And that would be true regardless of whether we were getting anything productive out of that energy usage or not. The fact that we're not makes it even more scandalous. One of the easiest and least disruptive things we can do to address the climate crisis is crack down on environmentally wasteful cryptocurrencies, and now is the time to do it.